Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art. Thank you for following me and subscribing to my channel. I really actually do appreciate it. As you know, I have been really off the air for like 2 months. The last time I posted a video was about the protest. And I think that's probably why I stayed off YouTube, because it kind of did affect me in lots of ways. And I'm making, the title of this video is 7 years, the world still acts like the emperor has beautiful clothes. Uh, we are ignoring Fukushima. I mean, totally ignoring it. I saw a video this morning of a woman from Fukushima Prefecture who in the video said, we're living with low-level radiation. And actually, that really hurt my feelings, because we aren't living with low-level radiation. We are living, in Fukushima, they're living with high level of radiation, just like people living in St. Louis, some parts of St. Louis, just like some people living up near Hanford, up in Richland. I mean, there's no discussion. There's like, oh yeah, we're living under low level. No, it's not. Some of those places are very highly contaminated. And as she said, you can't taste it, feel it, see it. You can pretend like, oh, I'm not being affected. And then you start getting sick, or your children get sick. So this video really is about, and I'm hoping that Jerome will join me. I sent him an invite, my co-host, Jerome Hebert. And this is about Fukushima. We are doing an action, several of us here in Oregon. We are going to drive, and I want to show you where I'm going to go. So I'm going to be screen sharing. This idea came from Heidi Lambert because, as you know, I work with No Nukes Northwest. I've actually gotten back on the board. Things have changed up, and I've decided they asked me to come back, and I'm going to come back, and we just function better together as a group. But this is not a No Nukes Northwest action. I don't believe it is. And I'm not going to say that because that is a nonprofit, its own separate nonprofit. If you want to contribute to it, you can. We could get a lot busier if we had money. But that's not what this is about. This is about Fukushima. We were going to meet, all of us, as a No Nukes Northwest action at the embassy, at the Japanese embassy on 311, and build an altar. And then, I don't know, Heidi came up with an idea that we go out to Amanda's statue out here in Oregon, out in Cape Perpetua, Oregon. The story behind Amanda, and I'm going to show you her story, so I don't have to badly tell you her story, but this is where we are headed, to that statue. Hold on, I'm going to screen share. Don't forget to screen share with you. Screen share. Is that it? Yes. Boom, boom. Look at this. This is where we're going. Amanda's Trail, the description. In the 1850s, Native Americans from various tribes were forcibly marched over the vast Coast Indian Reservation, which had 2 subagencies that stretched from Cape Lookout in the north to current-day Dune City in the south. People regularly ran away from the reservation and headed back south towards their homelands, becoming rapidly populated by white settlers, especially miners and farmers. In 1864, a detachment of the 4th California Infantry, led by Lieutenant Louis Herzer, went to Coos Bay to round up the runaways. They swept up any Indian they could find in their path to take to the Alcea subagency in Yachats. Amanda Ducoyas was a blind Coos woman who had been living with a white man and had a daughter by him. The daughter was left with her father, but the latter refused her to marry her mother, so she was taken north. Her fate is unknown. Hold on just 1 second. I beg your pardon. I have to pull this door out so I don't bust my desk. Signs in the vicinity describe the atrocity of the forced removal of Southern Oregon natives to the vast Coast Indian Reservation, then their subsequent relocation to that reservation to the small Seelitz Indian Reservation and the Grand Ronde Agency, where white settlers began to claim coastal lands. The site on a private forest land near the bound. The site is on a private forest land near the boundary of the Siuslaw National Forest, but is part of the Oregon Coast Trail. So this is private property. Huh. This is the second Amanda statue. The first, situated below the trail, was engulfed in the debris of a December 2015 storm. The first statue is the one depicted. A warn signs that the statue is equipped with a tracking device. Nearby is the statue of a bear. That's weird. So in the second one, I guess they put in a tracking device. That's interesting. Okay, so, and then I wanted to show you where we are driving. We are here in Eugene, and this is where we're going. It's an hour and 44 minutes away. This is the way to get to the coast. That's normal. This takes about an hour, so we got another 45 minutes up the road. This is awesome. Hecata Beach, and around here, I think it's like right around here, there's like this little space you can go around, and then you're on this really beautiful little alcove. If you guys have seen that picture of the lighthouse that I have on my it's like the cover of a lot of my videos here. But that's why I took that picture. So let's check out the satellite. This is where we're going. Beam. We're driving, and then we're going to drive past, what's this? We have to drive past NFD 55, whatever that is. It'll probably be marked, I'm thinking. Cape Perpetua. We drive past Cape Perpetua Visitor Center. Maybe that's a cool place to go. If we get there early enough, maybe we can go there. Because this is where the statue is. And according to the map, we drive up here and walk in, I believe. Look. Oregon Coast Highway right there. And then you park and you drive in. See, you park somewhere over here and you hike into this. And this is about a mile. Uh-oh. Boop. Let's go back. Forget that. I messed it up. Sorry, you guys. This is what happens to me when I'm sitting here doing stuff all by myself. But I wanted to share this with you because this is a great place to go to. Oregon hikers, if you're in Oregon, there's a lot of places that you can find. But this also tells the story of Amanda's Trail, the whole link. This is the city of Yachats. It's really sad what they've done to Oregon. It was beautiful. The history of the Oregon tribes were very interesting. They weren't like the friendliest. Some of them were quite cruel, but they had their own seed down. So this is the whole story of what happened, according to these people, the Solomon spiritual path, according to people from yahats.info. This is why Heidi thought it was a good idea. I'm going to stop screen sharing and go back to seeing you. Because the women of Fukushima and the children of Fukushima are being forced to go back and live in these conditions. It's the same thing that they did with these women. This woman was attached to a white man and had a child with him. And because he wouldn't marry her, she was dragged off, and God knows what happened to her. Probably died frozen. I mean, it's called Amanda's Trail because this blind woman, on her way out there, her feet bled so badly that you could track her by the blood on her feet. I mean, she knew her feet were hurting probably, but did she understand that her feet were leaving a trail? I don't think so. So that's kind of the irony of it all. And that's where we're going to be going tomorrow, is out to Cape Perpetua. And who is coming with us? I believe that Heidi is driving from the opposite direction about a half an hour. Heidi and her husband and her 2 or 3 children, I think, will be joining us. And myself and Kevin Finnegan, who I'm going to pick up, and Jerome Hebert, who's just arrived, and this is going to be like his first day in Oregon. And I invited him into this thing, but he's at an airport, so I don't know if he can hook in and if it will work. So probably didn't. How about that? But I'm going to just keep going because it's been a while since I made a video. And the reason I haven't made a video in a while is tied into this whole Fukushima thing. I mean, the reason I got active was when I realized how terrible the destruction that was ongoing at Fukushima. I was frankly mortified. I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't believe that people in charge, like attorneys and the judges and the police officers, that they were not like spitting nails and like wanting to sue everybody. And, you know, literally, they are killing our children, quite literally. And then as I dug into this is like why it's ixnay. We can't even talk about the F word or the R word because people are literally trained to believe that it's okay to ignore it. And that when we get sick from the effects of these chemical pollutions and the nuclear pollutions, and all the contaminants that the technologists have dumped on us willy-nilly and experiment with us on all the time is just part of life. That's just part of capitalism. People just have to get used to it. I think we need to say no to all of that. I think it's not right. I think we have a right to say we do not want to be experimented on. So that's why I'm on YouTube. Does this matter that I'm saying this? You know what I've come to realize? Look, I have pages of names of people that I made attempts to contact and did contact, talked for many hours. They didn't come on the radio because they don't want to be public. Because it is not in their best interest if you're fighting the nuclear industry to be public, because they will find a way to go after you, and it happens. So this thing about Fukushima, people are upset about YouTube ixnaying channels. I went through my subscription list, and like 3 of the channels I subscribed to were like not available because they were deleted by YouTube. That's a bummer. I mean, but did we think it was any different? We are ignoring Fukushima for 7 years. 7 years. We have had a state of emergency that the world is like, aren't they finished with that thing over there yet? No, they're not. They haven't even begun. The ice wall is a complete failure, which they knew it was 3 years ago. They are now moving families and children back into Fukushima. People over there, this article said, people aren't talking about it because they don't want to hinder the regrowth of Fukushima. Some of those areas ought to be no-go zones. 12 miles away from the nuclear power facility, you are not safe. I don't care how much they want to scurry up and clean and pay people to sweep dirt. You're not going to be decontaminated. The forest there can't be decontaminated. It's just a trip. How it's 7 years. And we are all self-censoring. That's the thing. Like, I used to be very upset because people didn't want to talk about this. Like, how could you not talk about it? How could this not be your number one priority? And that's why, like, I went back to school thinking I was going to become an attorney to stop the Price-Anderson Act. I laugh at myself now because you know what? Go to school. Become an attorney. The Price-Anderson Act is here to stay until, you know what happens? The whole thing falls apart. That's what's going to have to happen. For real. And it is going to fall apart. That's the sad part. All these laws to protect and indemnify them, and they can go to bed at night knowing they're never going to be held liable. I mean, maybe not in this planet, but in their future lives, yeah. So we're going to go out to Cape Perpetua tomorrow. We're going to meet up there around 12:30. Heidi says it is a no cell phone area, so I don't think there'll be any live streaming or anything like that, Facebook Live stuff. I originally thought we'd go live on Facebook, but I don't know. We'll try it, see if it works. If it works, I will be on Facebook Live, that's for sure. And this YouTube thing is kind of awkward now. I get that. They're making it awkward, so all they want is fluff. People who want to come on here and make a lot of money and sell and talk about stupid things. But people that are talking about real things and challenging the status quo, well, we've been censored before, and they've had 70 years. I mean, it is like on. It is not like even hidden anymore. Let's put it to you that way. They're not subvert. They're not trying to be subliminal. They're very overt about it. If you speak out against this, you are being considered like a fearmongerer and just, over the top paranoid, and you just don't understand real science. And the reality is, people that want you to get cancer treatment using radiation, actually, that is just the quintessential brainwashing thing on the planet. Use the radioactive contaminants that caused your cancer in the first place. Let's beat cancer with cancer. Because 2 negatives equal a positive, right? That's their little nuclear science math. I don't know, you guys, but we are going to be out at Cape Perpetua. I see that we have 5 viewers, so I'm going to go and share the screen again with this. I think that's it. Yes. Here, this is where we're going to go, to Cape Perpetua, to Amanda's Trail. And I will open that up in a new link, and you can see that. Oh, dear. Do they have it? So this is what I guess what it's going to look like, where we go out there. That's the forest. That's a lot of Oregon forest. This is actually the whole trail. And so, let's see if we can get a bigger one of this. Again, let's see if we can make that bigger. There's Amanda's statue, and I think what we do is we park somewhere out here or park here and walk up there. So that's the trailhead, and I guess that's the trailhead. Wow. We could walk all along that way. We could start here. I guess that's where the center was. Isn't that kind of like where we saw the center earlier? But this is where we're going, to Amanda's statue. The instructions went ding, 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 and you drive. You see this street here, you drive down there, and then you walk into Amanda's Trail. I think that's probably about a mile. I think the map said it was about a mile. So we'll look at it here. Ding, ding. So it's right in there. See, we're going to drive up the 101, drive. And then you go up here and you walk in. They tell you to turn here, and then you walk in through this trail. And that looks like about a mile. So I'm wearing my boots. So we're going to do that, and we're going to chant. I really do want to say some prayers. I want to pray for the people of the world, not just the people of Fukushima. I want to pray for all of us, because frankly, we're all super screwed. I mean, it's kind of sad what's happening to everything. And how people feel so intimidated to speak out. It's kind of shocking. And I think that's why people are saying, wake up, and we've got to do something. And really, one of my viewers that listened, one of my listeners to my radio show yesterday, Eric, he said, be positive. Stop calling him Traitor Trump and be positive. And, what are you going to tell the 18 to 20-year-olds? And that was actually a good question, because he's right. Calling that person by that name that I think he is actually, it's hurtful to everybody's ears. And I think it really offends us as Americans and as people, because he's not actually been held, even indicted yet. So that's not fair. And man, what would I tell the 20-year-olds? I mean, that has been the $1 million question, isn't it? What are we going to tell the 20-year-olds? I guess I'm going to tell them that I'm doing the most I can. I am I'm making an effort to get people's voice out, people who are victims of these companies and corporations, talking to activists who want to come on the air and talk about the things that they're doing, and talking to people who have ideas that maybe we can implement. Because I think we've got to start doing more, like even the grassroots things. This is why I can't give up on New Nukes Northwest, because it's a brand new organization, and the goal is to make the Northwest a nuclear-free zone, to make them do something with this, hold them accountable to this nuclear waste that they've created. You can't just bury it and dump it and say, oh, well, done with that, because it gets into our water streams. It collapses. They have to do more. They have to spend more money on it. It is a situation that is going like Fukushima. They're just beating a dead horse. All the things they're doing, they're just beating a dead horse. They knew the ice wall wasn't working 3 years ago when it first got started. The study said it wasn't going to work. Oh, but let's build it anyways because we can probably improve it along the way. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Making women and children, especially children and women who are pregnant, moving back into that zone and saying, well, you just have to deal with the birth defects of what happens when you live in a nucleated zone. I think that is a crime against humanity. And I think that the people who perpetrate that ought to go to jail. And at the very least, stop the industry, shut the whole thing down. I mean, we have 7 years. Every single government on this planet is ignoring Fukushima. Why is that? I mean, let's think about it. They know how bad it is. If they have any kind of an intelligence agency, all of the European countries know how terrible it is. The United States knows. The United Nations knows. You can't help. Just go to TEPCO's website. Anybody who follows this knows that it's a freaking mess and it's not getting fixed. And the world's like, yeah, we're doing a great job of it. So when Heidi said, let's go to Amanda's Trail, I thought it was perfect because that is the symbol of what we are being subjected to. Soldiers sent up from California's infantry to round up human beings who wanted to go back to their homes and force them to walk barefoot on trails to the point where their feet bled. And they treated them with grotesque disrespect. It was really interesting. It's interesting to read this story. Actually, how we found out about Amanda's Trail was that soldier kept a journal. The lieutenant kept a journal. I believe it was he. And he, it's his interactions with this. And he actually remarked about Amanda. And they really don't know what happened to her. They know she went up there, but last what he heard, she was en route. And there was no mention of her death in his book. So the assumption is she made it to the reservation and died there. We have no idea how long she lived or what happened to her. And it is really sad what's happening to the people of Fukushima. It's the same thing. And frankly, it's the same thing that's happening to people in Hanford. How many people in Hanford are getting sick that we know nothing about? How about in St. Louis that go completely unaccounted for? They're having to prove they got sick. They lived right next door to nuclear uranium, highest grade uranium ever. They had to live right next door to it. The autoimmune diseases, the cancer childhood cancers, cancers of the brain, cancer of the liver. There's a lot of people down there that are dying. So we're going to go and say prayers. We're going to chant. I'm going to bring a little drum. It's a mile in, so I think what we'll do is just do like a little ritual. I hope we can have the wherewithal to videotape it and we can put it back up on YouTube. So maybe if we can get live signal, I'm going to go live signal on Facebook. And doggone it, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty angry that it's 7 years in. Like, this is what kept me from coming on here. It was like, we can make all the videos we want, but are we really changing anything? Maybe I need to learn patience on this, but anyways, I feel like I've talked a lot. I'm going to get going, you guys. We'll be putting up a video of our little events tomorrow. I will make, I don't know how much of it I'll remember to videotape because I always get excited whenever I go do these things. Anyways, put your courage feet on, you guys. I hope that you take actions in your little neck of the woods and do some type of acknowledgement and remind your neighbors that Fukushima is still out of control. It is not stopped. Fukushima is still raging. It is a world catastrophe that every government is ignoring. And it's up to us to make them pay attention. It is really, we cannot just continue to ignore it and let TEPCO just, gosh, doing nothing except rob the Japanese people. So take care, you guys. We'll see you, I guess, tomorrow. Ciao.